Hey everybody, so we're going to talk about trigonometry now and the parts of the right triangle. Welcome to day 3. Hopefully you enjoyed day 2. So we're going to do day 3 today. So let's go ahead and get into it. The standards we're going to cover today is explain and use the relationship between the sine and cosine of complementary angles. Understand that by similarity, side ratios and right triangles are properties of the angles in the triangle and lead into definitions of trigonometric ratios for acute angles. In other words, what you're going to learn in this video is the trigonometric ratios, how to label the sides of a right triangle, what opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse mean, and the complementary angles of sine and cosine. So your homework for tonight is to watch day 4 of November 13th videos. You can do it on YouTube or on Canvas, and I'll get you guys that YouTube page. Okay, so hypotenuse, the key vocab is hypotenuse. That is always the slanted side of the right triangle. It's always this side. Sine is one of those trig functions that means opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine means opposite, not opposite, but adjacent over hypotenuse, and I abbreviate it. Tangent means opposite over adjacent, and I'm going to show you one of the ways that we remember this. Opposite is always relevant to that angle that you choose, and I'll give you a quick example, and I'm going to break this down more, but just so you can see the vocabulary. If this is theta, which I'll go ahead and define theta, theta is a symbol for an angle, and some people call theta and beta, they use all kinds of things, but we're going to use theta today. And it looks like this. That's what theta looks like. So if I was to put my finger, and because I can't put my hand through the video, I'm going to use a shape, guys, so you can see. So if I put my finger here, and let's say this shape is my finger, I'm going to automatically label the side that is the hypotenuse, which is always the slanted side, and where my finger is touching, where the shape is, then that is always going to be the adjacent side. Adjacent means right next to, and the side across from the angle is the opposite side. So we can define opposite as across from the chosen angle, and never ever choose the right angle, okay? Never choose the right angle. Okay, chosen angle. Okay, next, the adjacent side is always the side next to the chosen angle. So, and I normally abbreviate it as ADJ, and it is next to the chosen angle. And we'll get more practice in this today, just giving you the definition. And the trigonometric ratios are sine, the ones we're going to work with are sine, and short for sine is SIN. Cosine, short for cosine is COS, and tangent, and short for tangent is TAN. And this is normally how you'll see them. Complementary angles, I'll dig more into that as we move on, because that needs real, okay, so I'll go ahead and tell you this. Complementary angles means when two angles add to equal 180. So two angles add to equal 180, and I am going to erase the definition for theta so I can have some room to write. So complementary means when two angles sum or add to, not 180, sorry guys, 90 degrees. My bad. Okay, supplementary means the two angles add to equal 180, but complementary means when the two angles sum to equal 90. Alrighty, so let's get this going. So as I just gave you a demonstration, and I'm going to do both sides, the slanted side, which is across from the right angle here, is always your hypotenuse. So you make this easy for yourself by labeling your hypotenuse first. I can't put my finger on the screen, so I'm going to use a shape to help me out. So I am going to put my shape on the chosen angle, which my chosen angle is 60, and angles are on the inside of the figure. So my angle, or my finger right here, this shape, is touching the hypotenuse and the side next to it. Adjacent means side next to. So that means this side is the adjacent and this side over here is the opposite. So what if I change that now and choose to use 30 as my angle to label the sides with? So if I go here, the slanted side is always the hypotenuse. And now the side that's touching the added shape that I put in is called the adjacent side. And this side over here is called the opposite side from that angle. And there we go. That's how you label it. So put your finger. The slanted side is the hypotenuse and the other side is the adjacent side. And remember, you can always move these shapes around, and I'll show you. They can always be rotated anyway, so it's your job. Oh, I didn't grab. Oh, the image is stuck to the screen, so that's not a good way to change this. But the image can always change. So since the image can always change, just be careful with making sure you find the slanted side, put your finger and find your adjacent side. And then the other side you're not touching is always your opposite side. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead, follow these instructions on your worksheet, and go ahead and label these sides. And I'll give you the answers when we get to class. So now that you know how to label the sides, let's talk about the trigonometric ratios. So you would see that sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now there is an acronym to help you remember this, and it's SOHCAHTOA. That's the acronym that helps you to remember. Now I want to tell you something, and I know you're gonna laugh and it's gonna make you crack up, but there's a way we remember this in high school to help my class remember this. And we said some old hood rat caught another hood rat taking off Adidas. That's the added way that you can learn your trigonometric ratios. So here, you can come up with your own, so you can remember it, or you can remember SOHCAHTOA, whichever one you like, or you can use mine. That's the one in high school that we use, and there are tons of them out there. You can Google them, some other ones that you can find that you like. So if I wanted to find the trigonometric ratio, or short for trig, I'm going to say trig ratios for 60, then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my little shape, and I am going to cover this side here, or you can use your finger. I can't use my finger, so I got to use the shape, guys. The slanted side is always the hypotenuse, and normally the right angle will be there. The slanted side is the hypotenuse, and the other side that this shape here is touching is going to be my adjacent, and this over here is the opposite. So if I want to find the sine of 60, it would equal opposite over hypotenuse. And I don't know what these actual sides are. If I wanted to do the cosine of 60, then I would do adjacent over hypotenuse, whatever those values are. And we'll get some values soon. And if I wanted to do tan of 60, then I would do opposite over hypotenuse. And we have the sides labeled. You would just substitute in the numbers. Okay? So now, give me a second. Let me see if I can copy this page. That's okay. All right. So now, if I wanted to do the other angle instead. And I'm gonna clear the page. And you can always rewind if you need to see this again. So I'm gonna clear my page and do the other angle now. Alrighty, so what if I wanted to do this angle instead? I wanted to do my trig ratios for this angle, and I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA, or some old hood rat called another hood rat taking off Adidas, whichever way you want to do it. This should be, oopsie, hold on guys. This should be OA. Okay, so if I wanted to do sine of 30, first I need to label these sides. The side that's slanted is always the hypotenuse. The side that the shape is touching is always the adjacent, because adjacent means right next to. And this side is your opposite. So if I wanted to do sine of 30, it would be opposite over hypotenuse. And then if I wanted to do cosine of 30, it would be adjacent over hypotenuse. And then if I wanted to do tan of 30, it would be opposite over adjacent. And then we got it. So we set up our trig ratios. Just rewind this, guys, if you need to watch it again. So what I want you to do is choose an angle, or you can practice choosing both. Choose an angle and then just set up the ratios. You don't have to solve anything yet. Just set up the ratios, and we'll talk about later on how to solve these. Now let's talk about complementary angles of sine and cosine. So in the beginning, we already said that complementary angles mean that we take two angles and add them together to get 90. So that means A plus B should equal 90. All right, so if I have 30, then the complementary angle of 30 would be 60, because 30 plus 60 equals 90. And all complementary angles work the same. You know they have to equal 90, so you can always figure out the other ones. All right, so how does this work with trig? Then if I have the sine of 30, and I want to figure out what is an equivalent expression for a sine of 30, then all I need to know is I need to use I won't necessarily say the opposite, but I need to use cosine, and then I need to find the complement of 30, which is going to be 60, because 60 plus 30 is 90. And if you put these in a calculator, and let's check and see. Let's just check to make sure we know what we're talking about. So I'm going to go here to my calculator, and if you have a scientific one, you can put in the same thing, sine 30, and be careful to make sure you always close the parentheses when you're putting in the trig functions. That's what sine 30 is, and then I'm going to do cosine of 60 and see if they equal the same. Well, we have a problem here, and I'm going to show you what the problem is. So in your calculator, if you're working with scientific, with graphing, go to mode and change the radians to degrees. You notice they're not the same. Just go and change your mode from radians to degrees, and then you push second mode, and now we're going to go check this again. So we're going to say sine of 30, and scientific calculator should have spelled it out to start with, equals 0.5, and now we're going to do cosine of 60 should equal 0.5. So see, they're the same, equivalent expressions. They're exactly the same. So let's try one more, then I'm going to leave you to do your thing. So I'm going to do sine of 15. So if I do sine of 15, its equivalent expression would be cosine of, now we need to figure out how do I get to 90 from 15. So I'm going to say 90 minus 15 equals 75. And so I'm going to put 75 right here, and you can grab your calculator and check, and I'll check with you just to make sure we're right. So I'm going to say sine of 15 equals that, and then I'm going to go do cosine of 75 should equal same thing. So we got it. All right, so let's keep this train going. Now your job is to go ahead and answer these questions, and they should be on your worksheet, so go ahead and knock these out. And I'll see you in class tomorrow, and we'll go over these, and we'll talk about the homework in class. See you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Bring questions if you need to, and I got you. Bye.